and welcome to the North America Gaelic Football Podcast, the home of Gaelic football here in North America. I am your host, Gareth McAlinden, along with our co-host, Limerick's finest, Connor Green. Before we get started, just a quick shout out to our sponsors, Masita, who have been the official sponsor of the USGAA since 2017. If you or your club has any interest in getting involved with Masita for the upcoming season, whether that's jerseys, gear, training wear, whatever you guys need, feel free to reach out to us. We'll get you in touch with the people at Masita. So, without further ado, I would like to welcome Tanner and Kim with the NCGAA. Kim, Tanner, welcome to the show. How's everything going?
Good. All right.
Thank you. Yeah.
So why don't we just get right into it? So, Tanner, do you want to give us a little bit about your background of Gaelic football, hurling, and what got you into the GA?
Yeah, so I was first introduced to Gaelic sports my freshman year here at the University of Montana up here in Missoula.
Went to first couple trainings. It was pretty fun. It was, very much pretty ragtag. We basically just had the two Hurleys that Nisha brought over with him, a couple slitters, and a bunch of people who were interested in trying this game out. So from there, got the club going at the university, played our first tournament that fall, and went on to win our first collegiate nationals in New York that following spring. And from there, it just kind of snowballed into now we're here. We just had our 10th anniversary tournament back in April and brought a bunch of people back over the years, and just had a good time kind of looking back on the last decade of hurling here in Montana. And, from it, that collegiate program, then spawning an adult team that competes in the USGAA and trying to get a club going in Butte. And this summer we're looking at trying to get a couple other clubs. We've got some people throughout the state who've kind of spread out, and now they're starting to get to know about it. So pretty standard story compared to what we hear from a lot of the people who've been exposed to the NCGAA, whether it's hurling or Gaelic football, that gets them going. And just something it's been a huge part of the last 10 years of my life. And doing all that is I'm glad to be able to be now part of the board for the NCGA, trying to get some more of these teams going, make sure they've got nationals every year, and trying to build out like a regular season and more competition and that sort of thing. So it's been pretty awesome. I'm glad to have been a part of it and continue to be. So
Perfect. Kim, want to kick us off?
How did I get into Gaelic?
How did you get into Gaelic sports?
Well, I played lacrosse, and I ref and coached lacrosse. And I think just after so long, I swam in college, played rugby in college too. I think you just kind of need a switch up a little bit, and it was a great crossover. And I had been coaching lacrosse for so long, and then CU Boulder approached me just to help with coaching is just more than just being the best player. It's really about making sure drills are known and taught, and equipment, and just to get things done. And I joined the board in 2016, and we've grown. And I mean, it's been thanks to a lot of Fulbright scholars like Nisha, like the one that Tanner mentioned. People like that are so crucial to the growth at the college level. And, we get great people like that. And then, we got Tanner because of it. And now Tanner's on the board. I think just recognizing the people and these kids that want to start these clubs, and, they are go-getters, and they went and found me, and then Tanner and those guys started an adult club. So I think hurling's just another great way to be involved in sports in a community, especially if you played other sports. I feel like anywhere in life, you're kind of always looking for that, to be a part of something. So, I kind of just got sucked in like most people. I played a sport, and you're like, this looks fun, and I get a stick. So you can't be mad.
And you get to hit people.
Yeah.
So,
love that.
it's like the old saying, hit or be hit, right?
Yeah, and I just hit.
I love it.
Can you talk a bit about the NCGA? When did that first start up in the US?
So before the NCGA started up, there were actually a few college clubs that came about. And so you had like the Colorado collegiate system. There was what was called the Midwest Collegiate GAA. And then in 2011, they decided to kind of like combine just to create a national tournament. And I mean, back then they even had like UCLA, Stanford. I think one of our oldest teams is Purdue. Is that right, Tanner?
Yep.
And
Purdue and Berkeley, I think.
yeah, I believe Matt, I don't want to mispronounce his name, but everyone knows Matt, who started Purdue, and he stuck around and coached that club. And they've done a great job. They've been a great club for so many years. And, you know, like, so 2011, and then I think we just grew. The pandemic hit us really hard. So we're having a comeback from that. I think a lot of people realize we only get these players for 4 years. And we lost 2 of them basically to the pandemic. And so a lot of your upperclassmen who run all the admin stuff weren't around to show the underclassmen what to do. And so we lost a lot of teams due to that. And we've worked really, really hard the last 2 years to get those teams back, as well as start new teams. So, yeah, the NCGA, we're just all about getting college kids a place to go. So I think a lot of people have lately been hearing about the World Health Organization talking about depression being a global pandemic. And studies have shown when you're part of something in a team and a group, it helps with that. And also studies have shown that being a part of these clubs helps with grades. It helps with their success later in life. So for me and Tanner, it's really awesome to be a part of that, you know, just to help. I mean, I'm 44. I can't imagine what it is to be in your 20s right now and how hard that must be. And if we can like provide this and give them somewhere to go that's not like a video game or just alone, you know, I feel like that age group is so alone right now. And
Yeah,
give them
absolutely.
a go and something to look forward to is really important to the board.
Myself and Gareth, we've talked about it a few times before. Like one thing I just love about Ireland is there's such a heavy emphasis on sports and amateur sports. Like the GA in particular is a very community amateur. You play all your life. It's like in the US the sports scene is much more. You're playing to make your career, and after that, it's kind of a lot of people just pack it in, you know. So yeah, just giving people that thing to do that gets them out of bed in the morning is really amazing, like, isn't it? And you could see how that would help with every aspect of life, really, especially with your education and all that.
Yeah. And none of the teams cut players, you know, everybody gets to play. And I think a lot of kids who like sports, but just haven't had that opportunity because they're expensive. We don't charge dues, you know? So like, I mean, I know to go play lacrosse in some universities, it's $5,000 to play club lacrosse a semester and things like that. And, you know, and like some people, they can't make the team, but it's like, no, come out. Like, you know, this is a community. Like, you want to learn about Gaelic, you want to play, we will give you that opportunity. And we always are creating opportunities at even the national level for everybody to get to play a decent amount.
Yeah, definitely makes for a decent opportunity for the GAA there, you know, if they're charging that kind of money to play these other similar sports, like, you know. So interesting.
What's funny as well, we I mean, especially some of these, you name some big colleges there, UCLA, Purdue, look at even clubs like Notre Dame. A lot of those colleges do semesters abroad, and a lot of them do it in Ireland. So we had one person in one of our previous episodes from the LA Cougars, and he got introduced to Gaelic football through studying abroad. So with a lot of these schools, a lot of these kids come back, and to find out that there's a Gaelic football or hurling team in their campus, I mean, it's a phenomenal opportunity to grow it. Yes, you only have them for that 4 years, but you know, it does get them that itch to get into it. And even talk about
studying abroad though, because we had about close to 50 Irish exchange students, and about 25 of them had never played Gaelic until they got to America. So they actually got to America on the exchange and were like, shoot, there's an Irish club. And I think it was close to 24 of them had never played Gaelic football or camogie or hurling in Ireland, and finally played it here at the NCGAA.
Well, also not just players. they talked about Peter. We had Peter Murray, who is the chairperson of the Northeast. He brought up a good point that just because you're not a player doesn't mean there's not a spot for you in the club. There is admin positions. There is coaching positions. There is other things that you may be good at that, you know, you could fit into. You doesn't matter. Like I said, you might not be the most athletic person. You might not be the most talented player. But there are some people that are absolutely fantastic at admin. And we need those too. So,
Well,
and they're still part of that same community.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, referees as well. There's like a referee pandemic right now where we just have no referees. They're having to travel all over the country to be in as many tournaments as possible. And that's another thing where it's like, you know, and hopefully, you know, we've really tried to be very specific in who we ask to come and officiate at our tournaments, because we very much want not only just good officiating, but somebody who can maybe turn a couple eyes as to, oh, maybe that's something I should go get registered and take the class and start doing this, so that, you know, if every club has a ref, now all of a sudden you have that many more refs. And it's something, obviously it's been a battle for years and years and years. It's nothing new, but like you said, not everyone has to be a starting player in order to be involved.
Just curious, now, what would your thoughts be on the refereeing scene in the GA? Because for myself and Gareth, we both refereed a handful of games recently, and it's no easy task whatsoever. And no. I think the culture in the GA isn't really helping it at times, because you watch a game on TV and they're picking apart the referee's performance to the micro inch, like you know, a fella picks a ball off the ground, you know, they're saying, oh, it bounced up a millimeter off the ground, you know, and it's like, Jesus, how is he supposed to see that, you know? Just curious, what do you think about that now? Because it's tough enough to get them these days, you know, isn't it?
Oh, it's horrible, and a lot of times what I've noticed playing in the USGA now for 10 years is the problem is, you know, because of the lack of refs, there's a lack of training, and so you end up with a lot of these tournaments, especially the smaller tournaments, where, you know, it's basically whoever draws the short straw is the ref for the game, and each team just is responsible for a game. And a lot of times, so you have people who are out there who only kind of know the rules, but as a player, and so they start trying to officiate, and they start getting chirped at and yelled at and harassed by the players when they're just trying to do their best. And then 8 times out of 10, they're coming out of that, I'm never going to do that again. I would never do that. And it just sucks, because and you know, you talk to players and stuff like that, and I know at least up here in the Northwest, we've really tried to put an emphasis, and we do the same in the NCGAA with our players, is we really emphasize players are not to talk to the refs outside of, if it's a captain, if there's a genuine question, hey, I don't understand what that call, can you explain it to me, or anything like that, that's fine. But if there's any sort of the like, oh, come on, ref, like, oh man, open your eye, like, and any of that harassment gets shut down immediately, because it just ruins it for everybody.
That's a nice way to put it. You know, I thought that was a very nice way to put it.
Standards being nicer than he should be, because I mean, at the NCGA, it's actually in our bylaws. Like, you respect the refs. The ref doesn't have to call you out. You have to deal with me and Tanner then. And these players know that. Like, there's none of this talking back. It's not accepted. And you can ask any player, if they do that, what the consequences are, and they are real. And this is, you're not going to get refs if you don't have your program backing your referees. We keep getting the same good refs because we back them. Parents aren't allowed to talk back to them. Players aren't. They get nothing. If you don't shake hands with the other team or the ref, you don't play anymore. You're just done. Like, no one's out there making money. The refs are losing money being there, actually, as are the rest of us. And if you can't show respect, but here's the problem. Like, I think we'd have more refs, if these tournaments backed their referees. I mean, anybody who's listening to this podcast, it was at the over 40 tournament, saw me stop several games midway. And I stormed out there and I kicked grown ass adults off the field. Like, it's not acceptable. Like, Tanner, I think I did it your game, did another game, stopped. I was like, no, it's not happening.
You didn't have to step into my game, just Sean's.
Sean.
I had 100% control over every game I officiated. Okay.
Like, Kim's watching. She'll kick us off right now.
Kimberly, you need to come up and referee a couple of games up in Boston. So, you know. Need a bit of structure up here with refereeing. And just to let you know, me and Connor are both registered referees. So whenever you need, you know, when's that next tournament? We'll talk about that in a bit. But you know, you need
you could arrange a police escort maybe or something like that after the game. You know,
we'll just send me and Tanner. That's enough. Trust
me. My eyesight wouldn't be great, like, you know. So,
all right, enough of this referee stuff. We're getting off topic here.
So just to get back to the NCGAA, do you have an idea of how many colleges and how many players are playing Gaelic games across the US?
Oh God, a lot. I can't even name it off the top of my head because we've been working with like 6 new clubs that just starting up for the fall.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we have about 24, I believe.
Yeah. 24.
Yeah.
I'd say in the last couple years we have a very solid core of about 8 to 12 teams, especially now that football has kind of become more solidified. And some of those teams have been around for 10 plus years. That'd be, you know, Montana, UConn, CU Boulder, Cal Berkeley, Purdue, Pitt, are kind of like the very center core. Yeah, Holy Cross, we've got a team hoping to get started here in Memphis, Nashville. There's a club hoping to get started down in Arizona. Yep. We've been in talks with somebody up in Michigan, but they're kind of hit or miss. So that's always it's one of those where it seems like every summer we end up with, you know, you get 10 new clubs 10 people who are really excited to start clubs, and we're really happy if we get 2 or 3 solid ones started out of that. And a lot of times it's like you said, it's a club up in Holy Cross where they're very close to an adult club that's willing to help them run practices, order gear, fundraise, that sort of thing. And when those clubs can coexist, as opposed to feeling like they're competing against each other, that's where we've seen the huge growth. Because then if the adult club has a summer where numbers are short, you know, people have moved away, they're really struggling, well, they have the college club to kind of lean on. And then vice versa, when the college club is having a turnover in leadership, well, there's that solid foundation of an adult club that can be like, hey, have you booked your practice fields? Hey, did you remember to make sure you have jerseys? When are your tournaments? Are you traveling? Do you want to come play with us? Like, that's where we've seen.
And is the college season? I presume is it spring and kind of fall, or what? When do the colleges usually play now?
Yeah, so
up until the end of March.
Up until the end of March.
We're the exact opposite of the USGAA season.
Pretty much. Yeah. So
yeah,
usually fall semester is a lot more of our like regional tournaments. So we're trying to encourage teams to practice to go and play against teams that are within, you know, 4 hours of them, and play in the regions that we've kind of split up based on where teams are located. And then spring is nationals, and that's where people are kind of getting their last couple fundraisers in and getting ready for nationals.
Is every team invited to nationals?
No, you have to qualify, and in order to qualify, you have to compete in your school's regional event, and then also now have a certain number of games that have been played. So because what we're trying to do is, in order to get recognized by the school and more school funding, if they have like a schedule set up, like the school recognize that, they have more access to funding. And so right now you are required to play your fall regional, or you can't come to nationals. in order to qualify. And now you have to play one other university game throughout the year. But we're kind of setting up a schedule anyways, where the schools in the semester will probably get like 3 or 4 games in outside of the regionals. And then they also go and compete at USGA tournaments. So, so sometimes we have to be a little bit different on our qualifications because, like, for instance, Navy can't compete and leave if they have a home football game because they're cadets and they're required as cadets to attend that. And Citadel has a lot of like training things. So sometimes you have to really like know the school's system and you have to work with what those kids have to work with. Yeah, but the one and most important thing is you have to compete at your division's regional tournament in order to come to the national tournament.
Yeah.
And they have to be officially affiliated with that school, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so we'll let them start off. Like a lot of schools make the clubs go through a probationary period, and that's what we're helping them with the paperwork. We're helping them put together and we're helping them speak to the club athletic directors. And so they're allowed to be in just as long as they're in the process of going through that application, they're allowed to come. But there are some schools where like Carnegie Mellon University is a very arts minded school. And so they can't have sports clubs, but they're allowed to go and play with Pitt because that's the nearest school. There's a couple tech schools in Indiana where they can't have sports clubs, but if they're registered and going, they can play with Purdue as long as they attend the practices. So, we try to make it as much as possible for them to get the opportunity to play, but also like fall within like just the NCAA and the US bylaws and these universities rules. And there's a crap ton of bureaucracy. Like, you think it's hard at the adult level? Like, come down here with it's like being kicked in the stomach.
Yeah. But yeah, that's interesting. Just to go back on what you were saying there, Tanner, about the, like it seems to have thrived a bit more where there's in places where there's an adult club in place already. It seems like a no-brainer that like the two can really help out each other, especially with this way the schedule works and all that. So how would you like? Are you guys getting much support now from the USGA?
At this point, no. Other than our clubs are able to compete at USGA tournaments other than nationals.
And qualify. So we can
and
go
any
to
of the major qualifying tournaments. But outside of that, we've kind of just operated as our own entity. We don't participate in the AGM or anything like that, or really do much with them outside of just playing in some tournaments with teams. So, but yeah, our board doesn't really interact with their board much at all, if ever. Usually, only if there's some sort of controversy, it seems like, then all of a sudden everyone's interested. But
controversy in the
GA
GA.
loves a bit of controversy.
I really wish that people would recognize how beneficial the colleges are, and that you want to grow hurling and Gaelic football and camogie. You're not doing it by finding some like overweight 40-somethings at the bar. You know what I mean? Like, and you're not getting the 10-year-olds. The people who are starting the clubs are at the college level. Like, most of our clubs aren't started by CYC kids either, because they don't want to put the work in. They've tried, and they're the clubs that usually fail. All right. So like, you've got to give us support and stop fighting us all the time. Like, we're just trying to grow Gaelic and doing it at the 20-something level. We are pumping out players that know how to start clubs, maintain clubs, do admin work, and how to participate in tournaments. And we also don't let them be dicks to referees. So the fact that we're out here on an island getting butt fuck all for support is like triply infuriating. And I'm sure a lot of people watch this podcast pissing all over my face, I'm sure, on their computer. And I don't care. Because you know what? Like, Tanner and I bust our asses. We're putting in 20 hours a week each, easily. We talk to these kids. It's not like one of those like, okay, you're starting a club, Godspeed. We walk them through the process. We read their bylaws with them. We talk to their club sports. We show them how to order equipment. We help them with fundraisers, and they don't pay any dues. So all the money we have is to this new fundraising idea that we had, which is the Knees That Crack Over 40 tournament. And that's how we're going to be able to make sure all these new clubs exist. So those USGA clubs get all these fresh young players that they want. So, I mean, I know everybody loves a little controversy, but I'm telling you right now, we're tired, and we're tired of the crap. So it's like, support us or just leave us alone at this point. Because also Tanner and I aren't going anywhere, and you can be as much of a dick to us as you want. We're not leaving. So you can tell we've had a day at the NCGAA.
Do you think there is an opportunity for some kind of partnership down the line where, you know, you would almost think that the two are affiliated?
You would think
Gaelic
that,
football
right? You would
is under
think.
one company.
You would think. I think honestly, we need some change up in higher admin level positions. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it seems to be the same rerun. And I know other people are exhausted. And I mean, when you ask us if we deal with USGA, it's like, I can't keep having Groundhog's Day. You know, so I believe if maybe it's not the same regime coming in, and if all these USGA clubs decide that they're sick of the same old, I imagine there could be a brighter future. But right now, the NCGA future looks real nice. We have a lot of new clubs. We help these kids. I take text messages at 4 a.m. and at 11 p.m. at night. And they ask us some dumb things. And we answer every message they send, no matter what time of day. You can ask any college kid that. I've never waited longer than an hour to answer a text. And they all have our personal cell phone numbers.
It's funny with kids, you know, around that age, you know, 18 through 23 maybe or something like that. You know, I notice it a lot. Like I do, I'm the PRO of our club, like, so I kind of get messages from new players and all that, and it's almost a nervous excitement or something. They're asking you a million questions, and it's like, Jesus,
yeah,
you know.
But it's okay. They're 20 years old. I want them to ask the questions. So I'd rather you ask the question than really mess it up. Because if you mess it up at this university level, these schools are not as forgiving. The thing a lot of people don't realize is the NCGA could actually have a beer sponsor, but the clubs can't. They can't have an advertisement in America that is an alcoholic sponsor on their jerseys.
I do have here Funky Murphy's Bar and Grill. Not technically alcohol, but they sell enough of it anyway.
Bar.
Shout out to Funky Murphy's. Love them.
And I would love to have
Gallon
these bars
Desi,
and grill,
best
but
in the world.
These kids can't have bar on their chest when half of them are underage. And that's like a law in America. So sometimes when I do go to these adult tournaments, I'm like, that kid's 20 and they've got Guinness on their chest. As clubs, you're actually supposed to be ordering jerseys that don't have that for underage players. Fun fact.
And it's sad because a lot of these kids are keeping these bars in business because that's where they're going, right? You know, 1920. So, you know, they just want to help the guys out that are letting them into the bar at 20 years of age with their fake IDs.
They're keeping the economy going.
Yeah, so.
Sorry. I think going forward, I think where the compromise has to be is, I think that the USGAA kind of as a whole needs to, or the youth GAA, because I know that they're kind of the same but different. There's got to be we can work together, but we need to be an own thing. Kind of like what Kim's mentioned a couple times today already, is there's a lot that goes into organizing the colleges, where a lot of these clubs have rules that, so we have our rules, which are of course very similar in bylaws to a lot of the USGA bylaws and all those division bylaws and GA bylaws as a whole, but also everything that we have to do in order to be compliant with these colleges, since they're club teams and stuff like that. And sometimes it feels like there isn't a lot of room and understanding for, well, this is how they're telling us we have to do it. And it's like, well, that's not how it's done. And it's like, well, it is. You know, like, I know we go back and forth with like the whole co-ed thing, because all the sports we play have to be co-ed because of Title IX. And of course, the USGA level, that's a hot topic debate on whether hurling and Gaelic football and stuff like that is allowed to be co-ed, and when it is and when it isn't. And it's like, well, if the college teams are going to be involved, they have to be co-ed. And so, it's where I think there is a future where they do work together a lot more, but it has to be under that, like, we can work with you, but not for you or under you sort of a thing.
Do you see a future with tournaments being co-ed?
Ooh, I'd like to think so, but I also thought that 10 years ago, and here we are. I know, being up here in the Northwest, like, when they really decided to step down on not allowing co-ed, basically not allowing, for us, it was not allowing ladies to play hurling. That actually really was a detriment to our adult club, because we had a significant number of girlfriends and wives and stuff like that of people who were on our team and were playing. And then all of a sudden it was like, well, I mean, you can still practice with us, but you're not allowed to play and at games. And it was like, oh, well, if they come, they can just play on the Camogie team. It's like, they don't want to play on the Camogie team. They want to play hurling. That's the team they're on, and that's what they're trying to practice. And so it was a huge blow to us. And I know in that it's now been a couple of years since they cracked down on it, and now it seems like nobody really cares as much anymore. That kind of seems to be the cycle. But you'd like to think, especially if they keep kind of changing the rules to make the sports more and more similar. I mean, eventually it's like, what's the difference? Who cares?
Yeah. Do you ever, I thought it was funny there years ago. It might have been a little bit before your time in the GAA, but, like the hurling and camogie is under, two different umbrellas, obviously two different sets of rules almost. But when they made helmets mandatory in hurling, they weren't mandatory for a few years after that in camogie. So, you go to a hurling game, you used to be seeing, years ago, you used to be seeing all these hard fuckers like fucking, no helmet. And then you get used to just everyone has a helmet, but then you watch a camogie game on TV and it's like, oh Jesus, yeah, these tough women are still no
they
helmet.
have skill. They don't need to put a helmet. They have skills.
There's a girl that comes to our practice, and she will wipe the floor off 90% plus of our team. She's from Ireland.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, she would be one of our best players, I would say. I think she's played with us in a few tournaments and definitely has stood out from what I've heard anyway.
We had for a couple of years, we had Liam Rush's sister was attending the University of Montana, Gemma. She played for our team the whole time she was here, and she was the meanest person on the field. Like, she was nasty. We all learned how to like actually play hurling from her. And yeah, a lot of some of the best players that we've had come through our team over the last decade have been the ladies. And it's always funny because it always comes back to, oh, well, it's all about protecting them and making sure they don't get hurt. And it's just like, when we decide to walk on the field and play, we all know full well the consequences that could happen. It's not any different, and they're the same. It's not like when we have Sophie or Gemma or Claire or any of these people walk on the field, they're like, well, I hope I don't get hurt because I'm a girl. It's like, I expect people to hit me, and I expect to be knocked over, and I expect to give it right back. Let me make that decision.
It's an old argument. It's an old crappy sexist argument. They used to not let women compete in the Boston Marathon because we were too delicate. And when one of the women just joined into the Boston Marathon and started running, you can Google it. There are pictures of these old men trying to rip her off the field. They were so offended. And they said, it's not safe for women to be out here. They can't handle it. They can't run a marathon. And I mean, if you're saying in this sport, like, you are that same person. Back then, that was just saying the same ignorant statement that is tired.
Mm-hmm. Here's my thing. If you're good enough to play. So obviously last year was a pretty successful nationals for you guys. It was in Kentucky, right?
Yeah, it was in Louisville.
What was all the big clubs there, and who won football and hurling?
Yeah, so we had this was kind of our first major tournament since COVID, where we had like a really solid turnout from a lot of our teams. I think we had close to 200 players overall. Notre Dame, Pitt, Purdue, UConn, Navy sent a football team, Colorado, Montana, Citadel, and CUA.
Yeah. I think that's everybody who came, because I know Fordham's Sacred Heart couldn't come yet.
Yeah,
and Cal couldn't come, and Virginia Tech and Gonzaga couldn't come. So, but it was good. Yeah. It was a fun turnout.
It was great 2-day tournament. The kind of sloppy weather you love to see for Gaelic football and hurling, and some nice soggy pitches. But everyone played great. The level of competition was awesome. Even from a lot of these teams had first-year players for a majority of their roster, and I mean the level of competition always just amazes me. Seeing what these teams are capable of and what they put together, because a lot of times the coaches of these teams are just the players themselves, and so to see how they do it. Is probably both the football final and the hurling final on the Sunday were two of the most entertaining games I've ever seen. Navy and Notre Dame went at it for the football final, and I'm not a huge football guy. I know it's blasphemous to say here, but it was an intense game. It was great. It was physical. It was hard fought, and Notre Dame ended up coming out on top that one. For the hurling final, also Notre Dame, they made it to both finals, and then they played against Pitt, and it was great. Is a hurling match you love to see, is high scoring, good physical game, lots of skill back and forth between who was on top. It was a great as a board member. It was a great game because either result was historic. It was either going to be not only Notre Dame's first nationals, but it would have been the first time we've had a team win both football and hurling in the same year. And if Pitt won, which they ended up doing it was their fourth national victory in a row. So they now are tied with Montana for the most national titles in the NCGAA, but with the caveat of all four of theirs, they're in the middle of a huge dynasty right now. Which is just incredible to see. So yeah, both finals ended up very well. Teams competed well. It was a great tournament. It was a good time. It was crazy for us. It always is. I always come back from those tournaments just exhausted, as anyone who's organized the tournament knows. But it was phenomenal. Nothing but good things.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is this was our biggest tournament back since COVID, which was a really big deal. And we just have to give a huge shout out to Mickey and Charles in Ireland at the Global Games for helping us out with a grant so we could do that. Because like we said earlier, like we don't charge the kids like membership dues. They do pay like $30 to get to play at nationals. And we put that towards like the referee flights and hotels and stuff like that. But Charles and Mickey and the Global Games grant really helped us out as we're getting bigger, because you just need more stuff. And, you need more fields, you need more referees, you need more nets and all that other stuff. So they gave us some grant money, and we really, really appreciate all of their help and support. And then also, we are so grateful to Wicked Shamrock Photography. Amanda has just been such a great support to the NCGA. The whole time me and Tanner have been around, and she comes out and takes the most amazing photos of the players so they can use that, for their school newspapers, for marketing on their websites, and we can use it the same way. So, this tournament was a really big deal. It was a huge turning point for the NCGA that we're just going to get bigger. And I think it showed more clubs that they want to be a part of it and to maybe start a club so they can come play. And that, it's due to all the work of Tanner and Owen and what Charles and Mickey were able to, as we applied for that grant. And Rob and Kim Rayburn are just a godsend to the NCGA. They're just such a great support system. And, you know, we luck out that we get Stephen Power and Coop to come out and ref. And now that we know you two are refs, we might give you a trial run. We'll see.
Yeah.
We might have to come out and like just see what you guys do.
Well, we might have to come down because there's going to be new kids on the block.
Yeah.
Potential new national champions from Worcester, Mass.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can, if there's any way we can help them get ready, you know, we'll obviously do our part to help them out. But
no, it'd be great. Those kids are doing
going
so
to.
great over there too. Like we've been in contact with them and they've been awesome, asking all the right questions. And I mean, these kids should be applauded that start clubs because it's not easy. I mean, because we can help them, but they have to be there and do the process through the university. And when they do that, I mean, it's not easy, and they should really be applauded for that hard work and, you know, the effort that it is involved in order to get that status with the school.
We're going to have the two lads on an upcoming podcast. So if you have anything you want to tell them.
They're doing great. Like, we're so impressed by all their hard work, them and the Memphis kids and the University of Georgia kids and the player at University of Tennessee, Chattanooga. Like, they're just on it and they're doing so good. Like, it's hard to start a club at the college level. Like, the schools don't make it easy on purpose to make sure you're serious because they give money to that. So, you know, like they don't always make it very easy.
Any advice for those kids that are maybe thinking of starting a team that, like, you know, maybe one of the most important things for
to
them?
Contact us, because we've seen every amount of crazy they may encounter and we have a counterpoint to it. So if you visit the NCGAA.org, you can even look at the top bar. It says how to start a club. And then we give tips on like things you might run into, like things to say. And, you know, just like, I mean, like doing it on your own is great, but the NCGA exists to help. That's all we want to do is just help. Like, we're not getting paid to do this. Like, so obviously we want to do this. We want to help. And, you know, just as long as you can handle getting an email from me every week asking for updates. And the USGA club locally gets updates from me too, where I was like, are you helping them? So, yeah, I mean, I think the first thing to do is like contact us and we can tell you exactly where to go on campus. We can tell you who you want to talk to. We can tell you if there's already even been a club there before. And, you know, like that's all we do. That's all we want to do is just help. So, and we spend many, many hours doing it and we like doing it for them. So, yeah, ncgaa.org. It's a great website. It also talks about our fundraising tournament.
So you talked a bit about the funding of the NCGA and a new tournament that has popped up, which I think is great to see, is the Knees That Crack tournament. So can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, the Knees That Crack tournament. I actually like thought of it when I was running a training, and I was like, if I have to chase after another 20-year-old, I'm just going to drop dead on the pitch because I'm 44. And I was like, oh my God, like there should be something for me. And I was like, it's an untapped market. Like, so the whole process of it is, you know, help us fundraise to pay for your replacements. Cause we're all on our way out the door. We know where we stand at Pub League. We know where we get picked once we reach a certain age. So sometimes we want to be the big fish in the pond again. And now you have the Knees That Crack over 40 tournament. And our first year was this last year, which was, I wouldn't even call it an adventure. I would say like, it was almost like a comedy of how many things might possibly go wrong that you have no control over, like just happened to us. But at the same time, you learn every lesson of everything that could possibly happen. Like the day before the tournament, the places where you get medics. So you can call up these companies and like you pay for a medic. They send you someone out there. They're like, oh, your medic has COVID. I'm like, great, send us somebody else. Like there is nobody else. This is the busiest sports weekend in Las Vegas. We're like, well, we paid you. And they're like, we'll give you your money back. I'm like, but the tournament's in 12 hours. like, what do you mean you have nobody? And they're like, sorry, not sorry. And we're like, what? So, I mean, enough of us are certified and things, but still, it's always like, it's nice to have a medic at an over 40 tournament. And then just, I mean, when we booked fields, there were only like 50 people. And we're like, great, like this will be cute and fun. And then like the day after registration ended, 100 people signed up. And we're like, oh crap. Like we don't have enough space. So we had to go through the city of Las Vegas to find bigger fields. And then they're like, hey, there's this one. And we're like, crap, that's far away from the hotel. And we had everyone stay at this hotel because it was in walking distance to the original field. So then we had to find a charter bus because we didn't think that was fair to the players for an unexpected cost, you know, because they were under the impression, as were we.
I know my own father was actually one of the late registrants, I think.
That entire Worcester
no, he was actually over here. I think you might have seen him there, Garrett. He was over here in November, and I was saying, he's 64 years of age, but he works for himself. He's a landscaper. Like he's always on the move. Like, so he's in very good shape for a 64-year-old. But he was over here in Thanksgiving or around Thanksgiving there last year. And I was talking to him. I was like, oh, you should go to this Sneeze That Crack tournament. You know, it looks like it'd be good fun. And he was, you know, that classic Irish attitude, like, oh, Jesus, no, I could never do that. No, Las Vegas, like, you know. So, no, kudos to you for doing that because it's really an amazing thing to see developing. Like, because, you know, people over the age of 40 would love to be doing things like this more often, I think, you know. So the more things like this, and if it's a way that you can bankroll the NCGAA a bit, you know, all the better, you know.
Yeah,
so,
I'll say it was super interesting too because for years we've been so strict on our bylaws on like behavior on the pitch and towards refs, you know, that like, I mean, these over 40s are feisty, and they're at an age where they have no more cares to give. And it was pretty funny though to be like, I think at one point I was like doing something and all I could hear in the background was, this is a fundraiser, why are you fighting? I mean, it was just like,
and I'm sure there's almost an aspect of that thing. There's probably like a few lads who probably haven't played hurling in fucking 10-15 years, and it just, you know, the game is changing, like it's getting a little more soft, like, you know, definitely. As like all sports, really.
I mean, so, I think we had 10 to 15 people that were over 60, and I want to say like 6 of them were women over 60 that were out there, and they were out there. Everyone was having a good old time. So
yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, and it's happening again this year.
People there that were just.
It's happening again, so make sure you sign up. Like the first weekend in February, if you go to the NCGAA.org. and you click on the over 40 tournament tab, that's where we'll update information.
So an interesting topic was the jerseys, but I didn't know there was an actual hidden meaning behind the jerseys. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I usually, the kids are so creative, the college kids, that actually it was an alumni, Maura from CU, that came up with the Knees That Crack. And then the college kids came up with the jersey design. So I was like, okay, what should we do for a jersey? And one of them was literally in their dad's closet looking for an ugly sweater for an ugly sweater party. And he's all like, my dad has so many Argyle sweater vests. And he drew it on a piece of paper and texted it. And I was like, done. That's the jersey. So yeah, he's all like, my dad has a ton of these. And I'm like, how old do you think we are? And I was like, well, I guess I could have birthed you. Crap.
And it's like Vegas, gambling, you know, betting on horse races. So, you know, I can get the vibe, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And obviously the national tournament was in Kentucky too. So, I mean, there's a little bit of meaning behind that, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yep.
We like to have fun. But I think people are going to be excited about Ogden, Utah. Like, I feel like, so Weber State University is helping us out, and Utah gets a bad rap, but man, that is a fun state.
I think when we released the schedule and everyone was slated to play 4 games, all of a sudden everyone was kind of like, that's all. Like, we didn't come here to play. We came to party.
Yeah. Might as well gas them out a bit.
Oh yeah. Definitely earned the night on the town. That is for sure.
So the upcoming 2024 tournament will be back in Vegas, right? Will it be the same location or will it be a different location?
Well, right now we do have a location reserved. We're looking up for a backup location because we're getting a lot of feedback that a lot more people might be coming, which is amazing and great. So I'm actually flying down to Vegas next month to meet with the Parks and Rec director and walk through fields. So one of the hardest things about planning a tournament at places you don't live is really truly knowing the field positions. But the city of Las Vegas seems to have gotten a new Parks and Rec director, which we're super excited about. So I'm going to fly down there and meet with him and go over more field options. And the nice thing about being the first weekend in February now, there's less going on in Vegas, so more is open to us. So, I mean, eventually we are going after this one place that has these 4 beautiful fields, and then we can just be as big as we want to be. So everyone who's over 40 can play. So, but I mean,
Just curious, last year, when did you first start organizing this? Are you a lot ahead of last year, or?
Yeah, so last year I started putting it together in July, and the flyer leaked at a tournament, and he knows who he is, and he's probably going to watch this podcast, and I still shame him. And then all of a sudden, our inbox started blowing up. I was like, well, I guess we're doing this for sure.
Yeah.
But this year, like, I think we now know how Vegas works a little better. And we already have the after party. We found a really cool Irish bar that we're going to have it at. And yeah, we are ahead of schedule, which is great. But I mean, our biggest thing is knowing how many people are coming. So that's any tournament, right? Like, if you don't know how many people are coming, you can't plan. And so we actually set up now, for all of you watching, there's early registration that's cheaper. So if you register before October 1st, but if you register after October 1st, you're paying a little bit.
That's how you get the paddies to get their shit together.
Yeah.
Make it a money incentive, you know.
Yeah, we're trying to make the money incentive. But we definitely can't do any more post-registration deadlines. And that's based on the fact that you get a jersey at our tournament to play in. So, and we have to have enough time to order those and have them be in production. But if you do register before October 1st, it's very discounted. And then after that, it is not discounted. But we will take your money, and it will help grow the NCGAA. So don't feel bad.
I hope those jerseys are Masita, right?
They're whoever wants to sponsor us. And we would love to talk to Masita about a sponsorship. They can go to ncgaa.org and hit the contact us form. And we would love. I mean, we're open to talk to whomever.
Desi's a more over the phone person, so I'll get you in contact with Des. But no, I would say, not because there's any personal for it, but like in soccer here, where they have like the over 40 soccer, like the over the hill league, but you can play like 2 over the age of 35. Just saying.
No. So you know how many people tried to sneak in and lie about their age? Like, they're like, come on, I'm 38. And I'm like, you're not 40. You got to earn this. Like, something happens at 40 and everything hurts all the time. And, if you don't have at least 5 injuries to complain about, you don't get to play. And it doesn't happen until you're 40. No, you guys all try to sneak in. Like, there's so many people that tried to sneak in. It was pretty entertaining.
You might get away with it, when you're 21. So, like, I remember when I first came here, there was a couple of people who were 20, but they're the day and the month are switched. So let's just say you were like, let's just say it was in July, but it could have been like July 9th. They would switch back the front. So they would almost think that they're 21 already. But yeah, it was pretty fun.
That's awesome.
Funny. But yeah, you can't really do that with the year you were born, though. That's the only problem.
Yeah, people tried, but
you could have maybe one game where you have the older all-stars against some younger lads, but you let the older lads get away with some shenanigans or something like that. I know they do that in some rugby clubs. They'll have the old boys will play a charity game against the younger lads, and the older lads are like sneaking on, like they'll have 18 players on the pitch and all this, and they're slipping the referee some brown envelopes and all that.
I think we should make if the younger people want to play, you got to play wearing oven mitts.
Yeah. Worth a thought.
That could even the playing
in the Vegas heat. Yeah,
the Vegas heat of February. Like, that's the best time to go to Vegas.
This was February. What am I saying?
Yeah. Go watch all the football.
What about football? Because obviously hurling's a little different, yeah, the oven mitts, but how can you make that happen with football? Well, what can you do there?
Oven mitts.
Clown
Barefoot. Young fellas barefoot.
Clown shoes.
Like the longest yard all over again there, the slave feet.
Yeah. Or what about like you gotta like the younger guys have to like tie a leg together like a 3-legged race?
Jesus.
I mean, I'd watch that.
Any excuse to get away to Vegas. If that's what it takes, that's what it takes.
Well, really what we're learning is that the NCGAA puts on some banging tournaments. So, we might just have to start putting on more tournaments so people can all experience what it's like.
Yeah, so everyone knows what a good NCGAA time is. I mean, we actually get a lot of alumni who show up at the Nationals still just to hang out. Mm-hmm. So...
Have you thought about linking up with the Mexico City Gaelic football team there? We're in talks about a January tournament there. Gareth is getting it off the ground supposedly. Rumor has it.
That would be fun. Well, we do have University of Toronto is one of our clubs. So like that's nice about the NCGA is we cover NYGAA, Canada GAA, and we actually do cover Mexico as well. So, I mean, I know there is a University of Mexico down there. So we already have University of Toronto, like got a couple New York schools. Like I can yell things in Spanish, just fine.
Too cold, Toronto.
What?
Too cold. So, not about that life.
No.
I'm about January 80, 90 degrees. Now we're talking my language.
Yeah. Well, that's what's kind of crazy about the college schedule, right? Is like, think about Labor Day to like the 1st of April. And it is the most insane weather. So like, I mean, at Louisville, it just dumped rain. And we're like, okay, what do you do? And Utah, it could snow. It might snow. And they'll keep playing because I played lacrosse in the snow. So they can play hurling and football in the snow too. But I mean, like, that's another thing is like, you just don't know what the weather is, like were you all at that San Francisco final where it was like 110 degrees and everyone was just dropping like flies, and San Fran had never had a heat wave like this, that they actually brought in like medics with just bags of ice and they're just sticking it on people's heads. Like everyone was like passing out from the heat. And it's like, we're worried about like hurricanes and snow. Cause I mean, it'll snow in Colorado in June, so if you have the tournament in Colorado, like it could snow. Like, I don't know. We could all get washed away with a hurricane. So, I mean, that's kind of the fun about us too, is like these kids play in some crap weather. I don't think you 30 somethings could handle it. I think you'd complain too much.
Listen, no complaining to me. Anytime we can put the boots on and kick the ball or hit the ball around, you ain't gonna get much complaining from me.
Yeah. It's the only advantage we might have over these young Irish fellas coming over for the summer. It's like maybe they might not have drank enough water there. They might have had too many beers last night. So I welcome the heat anyway.
My favorite is when we have nationals in Orlando, right? So the college kids are like, yeah, Orlando, there's a pool. And they get excited and they all fly down a couple of days early. And they're, being college kids at a pool. And we're just laughing. We're like, you're going to hate your life tomorrow. Like, they're just sunburned, dehydrated. And we're like, drink some water. Like, it's pretty funny, but they still play. Like, God, to have that youth again, where you can just treat your body like crap and then go out there and play 4 or 5 games in a day. It's unbelievable. And they play hard. Like they do not hold back. Like I've definitely gone on the field and I'm all like, hey, I don't want to guard this guy. He's too fast and I just don't want to today. I'm definitely that girl at public sometimes. And I'm like, whatever, I don't care. But yeah, the kids are hard.
As long as you're out there playing, that's the main thing.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you can call it playing at this age, at this point. I'm definitely out there standing with a hurl in my hand. I don't know what else is happening. You can ask the regulators.
Yeah, I want to say thanks to Tanner and Kim for coming on, doing great stuff with the NCGA by the sounds of it. Thanks to our sponsors, Masita, and thanks to everyone that's listening out there. If you like this episode, do us a favor and give us a like, follow, subscribe, whatever you can do, share it with your friends. We appreciate it. And thanks, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.